don't got the water in my body, but I'll still be water. This is good water. No, it's a bit down. Nice work, amen. Give me the water. Go up.
In this,
the jury unanimously find the defendant, Chi K. Rick Chow, as to the charge of murder, not guilty. Sign number 302, foreperson, June the 1st, 2026. Madam Forelady, was this your verdict and the verdict of the entire jury?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Thank you. Madam Forelady and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to ask you 2 questions relating to your verdict. Please answer yes or no to each. Number 302, was this your verdict?
Yes, it was.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Number 2, was this your verdict?
when the black community says, let's boycott Asian businesses, please do. We'll get rid of the Chinese takeout, the dry cleaners, the laundromats. Let's get rid of the liquor stores as well. Get rid of the Jordans you guys wear, the Nikes you wear, the shower caps, the Hondas, the Hyundais, all your car electricians, the electronics in your house, the Sony, the TV system, your sound system, the microphones that you guys use to rap and speak about awareness for the black culture and the hip-hop culture. Where do you think that's made in? That's made all in Asia. And here's another thing for you guys. You guys want us to leave the neighborhood so bad? Oh, Asian people are not neighborhoods? We're in white neighborhoods. We have our own Chinatown. We have our own Koreatown. You think we really need you guys to benefit off and make money? A lot of us do go to college as well. You're being outworked by immigrants who barely speak English. And you're not embarrassed? Go to the bank, start your own businesses, and deal with your own people. I want to see your own women get on their hands and knees and do pedicures and manicures and deal with nasty-ass attitudes, okay? Please, boycott Asian business. I'm all for it.
Greetings, everybody. So we're going to be picking off where we left off from the last video. If you haven't watched it, I do recommend that you go and check that out first. It talks about Yashua, as some call him Jesus, and his life from birth up until adulthood and how it resembles that of a Negro here in America. Now, why exactly am I comparing his life to that of a Negro, or what they call Black Americans? Well, for one, we are the people that the world loves to hate. Why should black children be afraid of going to the store to purchase a bag of Skittles in Arizona, or a bottle of juice, or a water bottle? Why should we have to have fear in the back of our minds that we might not make it back? Why is it that people go out of their way to hunt us down and kill us as if we are some animals? Black people just minding our own business in America is somehow a threat to other communities. We could just be minding our own business, not harming anybody, not threatening anybody, just going on about our day. And sure enough, somebody will call the police and falsely accuse us of doing something that we weren't doing. Where does this come from? Where does this hate that we receive come from?
You got guys up there, there's a couple of dudes up there that are saying shit like, they're going after you because you guys are the colored people. That's what I'm not trying to be racist or nothing.
No,
I'm putting it straight to you. I'm not.
Yeah. That's why I wanted you to say it to him.
There's no damage here. That's fiberglass. So if you're gonna back into something like that, that's gonna be caved in. So there's nothing on there.
I just think we should leave. We shouldn't even be there because
yesterday is the sundown town. Then he said the Bulls called and said we 2 black males that's on drugs. Come on, bro.
Drugs.
You watch me all day. What drugs did I take today? See what I'm talking about, bro?
Why is it that, according to the United Nations, that black people are consistently among the most marginalized groups experiencing systemic discrimination, racial profiling, and racially motivated violence globally? Why is it that we are going through this? Go search up who is the most targeted race of people here in America. It's right here. According to the FBI hate crime statistics, Black or African American people are the most frequently targeted racial group, accounting for the highest volume of reported race-based hate crimes. And that's according to the Department of Justice. Why is that? What is it that motivates people to hate us so much that they go out of their way to harm us? Why is it that no one takes time to explain why we go through this? Especially the Christian community, who played a huge role in the reason and why we're hated today, right? Colonialism, slavery, that all traces back to Catholicism. That all goes back to the Pope, which they recently just admitted that they were responsible for. But I guarantee you that they will never give you an explanation as to why we go through these things. We done converted to Christianity for the past 400 years. Most of us grow up Christians. We believe in their gods. But why are we still the most despised group here in America? Same can be said for Muslims and Jewish folks. If you're Black and you converted to Judaism, ask your rabbis, why are they the head and you're the tail? Why do you have to borrow from them and not them borrow from you? Even if you don't have a religious faith, ask yourself, why is it that foreigners can come inside Black communities and rise above us? We've been here for over 400 years, established in this country. Why is it that foreigners like that Chinese man can come in here and prosper and then talk down on us for everything, after everything that we did to pave the rights for them to even come here in the first place, right? You can even say the civil rights movement did more for immigrants than it did for ourselves. So this is the reason why I'm making these type of videos. The only community that actually goes deep into why we experience these things that I noticed is the Hebrew Israelites. They actually give a whole breakdown, the whole backstory of why we go through these things.
The Black community, we are number one, numero uno, right? And so Christians they're still seeing this, right? They're still seeing these legislators go in and do things like, mess with your voting rights, trying to get rid of your voting rights. They're still seeing that. They're still seeing folks messing with DEI, and they want to bring back segregation and all of those stuff. Why are they still messing with you? Why is it that you can mind your own business, they'll still come into your community and mess with you? They'll still racially profile you. Why is it? Why is it, family, that all these things keep happening to you? And I think for the longest, people weren't connecting the dots that it's because that we're Israel. It's because that we're Israel. It's because that we're Israel.
So that's what I'm doing with videos like this. I want you to start to view Black people in a different light than what's been highlighted to the world. I want people to stop thinking that we are all thugs and criminals. I want people to view us in a different light. I want people to view us as though we are also children of the Most High. I want people to view us as though we are loved by Yashua, as some call him Jesus, the Messiah. And I feel as people don't view us in that way because of the lack of representation in society. Even amongst ourselves, you have Black people who hate themselves. You have Black people with low self-esteem. They like to distance themselves from other Black people, so they are also not looked down upon by other races of people. And then they start to trash their own Black family, just like these other races of people are doing. People like Candace Owens, for example, who is also a Christian. She's a Catholic. She admitted that she was getting paid for trashing black people. And guess what? The second she stopped doing that and focused on other races of people, she got fired from her job. So what is it that made the world and even those amongst ourselves look down upon us as though we are not worthy of being uplifted? What is it that prevents people from seeing the good that we contribute to this world? I think it's the lack of representation. For example, search up God on Google, go to the images, and tell me, what do you see? Search up holy angels in Google Images and tell me, what do you see? What is the first things that pop up? Or search up Jesus. Go to Jesus, look at the images, and tell me, what do you see? What is being represented in those images? Search up his followers. Type in the apostles and tell me, what do you see that pops up in the images? They were all Jews. Type in Jews and then go to the images and tell me, what do you see? In the biblical movies that you watch, tell me, what do you see? Where is the representation of black people in any of these films? Have you seen one black person in these films? Why is it that the only time you see a black person playing the role of a biblical figure, such as Jesus, Yashua, why is it always done in comedic fashion? Why does it always have to be done jokingly? Why can't it be in a way that other people could watch it and relate to, capture emotion, or just take serious? Why does the standards have to be lowered when it comes to us? When there's evidence that the people in the book, the Bible, looks exactly like us. Same features and all. Yet we don't see that type of representation in our societies. We don't see that being portrayed all around the world. This is deliberately done. They don't want us being portrayed in such biblical films because that would change the perception of how people see us. Instead of viewing us as thugs and criminals, they will start to see the light in us. But when you take us out of the picture, when you whitewash everything, when you say we had no presence at all in the book of the Bible, a place that took place in North Africa, when you take us out of the picture, you start to diminish our light. And sadly, if the Messiah was to return as he is, many are not going to recognize him. And it's due to this false representation of who they've been portraying the people to be.
They said he was discriminating because he told his disciples, go not the way of the Gentiles, but rather go to the lost sheep. He discriminated. Don't go near the Gentiles, go to the lost sheep. Go to the oppressed. Go to the downtrodden. Go to the exploited. Go to the people who don't know who they are, who are lost from the knowledge of themselves, and who are strangers in a land that is not theirs. Go to those people. Go to the slaves. Go to the second-class citizens. Go to the ones who are suffering the brunt of Caesar's brutality. And if Jesus were here in America today, he wouldn't be going to the white man. The white man is the oppressor. He would be going to the oppressed. He would be going to the humble. He would be going to the lowly. He would be going to the rejected and the despised. He would be going to the so-called American Negro.
So picking up where we left off in the story of Yashua's life here on earth, we start to understand the type of conditions that he was born into and grew up with, and how it shaped him as he became the man that he was. And we're going to go on and continue showing how he experienced the life of a Negro man like here in America. But just for recap, we know that since he was born, at his conception, he was hated. We know that King Herod wanted to kill him as soon as he was born. If King Herod had access to abortion like we do today, he would have used a tool such as that. So that's the type of things that we face today. We also know that he was a refugee. He and his family had to migrate to Egypt to escape persecution from King Herod. And upon returning back to his homeland and growing up in the city of Nazareth, we know that he and his family were impoverished. They were barely getting by. Joseph was a carpenter, and Yashua walked in his footsteps and became a carpenter as well. Carpenters during that time weren't making that much money. It was just enough to provide food for their immediate families. So when he began to teach later on in his life, he pulled from these experiences. This is what made up the gospel. And now that brings us back to where we left off, and that's colonialism. Yashua the Messiah knew firsthand what it was like to go through colonization. And being who he is, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, he must have foresaw what his own people would go through during the age of colonization. In 1493, King John II of Portugal kidnapped 2,000 kids from Jews that were from Spain originally. He kidnapped them, enslaved them, and brought them to an island off the coast of West Africa, and it's known as Saint Tomé. While on the island, these Hebrew babies were forced to be baptized to become Christians, and they were made to work the plantations on the island of Saint Tomé. And shortly after, these same Hebrew babies were brought to Brazil, the Americas, and that was the start of what we now know as the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, Yashua must have known and been aware that his own people, the Jews, would have had to go through the transatlantic slave trade. In fact, he even prophesied that they would. Luke chapter 21, verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. You see, Yashua knew exactly what colonization was. He himself even had to live under a form of colonization with Europeans carrying crosses, but not for the purpose of converting people to a new religion. The Romans came carrying crosses to crucify those who would not bow down to the authority of Rome over their nation. Same brute force as colonial powers use, just without the optics of religion masking it. It was in 63 BC when Rome first colonized the land of Judah, or as they like to say, Judea. This happened when Roman General Pompey intervened in the Hasmonean Civil War. He then captured Jerusalem and annexed the region as a client state. This sparked centuries of occupation, heavy taxation, and violent uprisings, culminating in Rome destroying the Second Temple in 70 CE. This would eventually lead to the Israelite people and Jews being displaced from the land by 135 AD. It was the Romans who Yashua prophesied would come to trodden down Jerusalem. They would be the first of the Gentiles to take control of the Holy Land. So Yashua lived under Roman occupation. He and his people, the Jews, had to pay taxes to the Emperor of Rome. No different than how we pay taxes here today in America. Typically, if you don't pay your taxes, they will come and hunt you down and punish you, especially if you are black in America. It was the same during Yashua's time. Matthew chapter 22, verse 17 through 21. Tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? But Yashua perceived their wickedness and said, Why tempt me, you hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. And he said unto them, Whose image and subscription is this on the coin? They said unto him, It's Caesar's. Then said he to them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto Yahuwah the things that are Yahuwah's. In other words, pay your taxes, because them people don't play about their taxes. The Romans, they wasn't playing about those taxes. That's simply what comes along with colonization. That's what happens when you become subject to another foreign power. During the Messiah's time on earth, the kingdom that they had in Judah had become a thing of the past. You see, it was 400 to 500 years before the birth of the Messiah that his kindred, the Jews, were taken out of Jerusalem and enslaved by the Babylonians. Upon returning to the land, they were never able to establish the kingdom as it once was. The closest they had to their kingdom being established once again was when the Hasmoneans had gained power over the Greeks. The Hasmonean dynasty was short-lived, and it would last up until around the time the Messiah was born. But the Hasmoneans were Levites. The true heirs of the kingdom of Judah had to come from King David. And indeed, Yashua was the offspring of King David. But being subject to Rome, they had placed another puppet king on the throne of Judah. This was the Herodian dynasty of Edomites. These people were not Jews. They were not related to King David at all. They were strangers. And to make matters worse, these Edomites converted to the same religion as the Jews, but now they were able to move Judah in the direction that they saw fit, and that usually aligned with Rome. So during the life of Yeshua's time here on earth, he had to deal with a group of strangers coming into his homeland, usurping control over a throne that did not belong to them, and then trying to steal their identity as the chosen people, while also having the backing of a world superpower who supports everything that they do as it aligns with the interests of the empire. Hopefully you guys can see where I'm going with this. So now that brings us to the lead up to the death of Yeshua the Messiah, who was crucified on the cross. And in those final moments, there's a lot of parallels that you can draw from that kind of relates to what Negroes have gone through. So let's get right into it. Luke chapter 4, verse 18. The Spirit of Yahuwah is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. So Yeshua, at this point in his life, had done a lot for his people. He was healing so many people. There were so many miracles being performed. And he really made it known that he was a type of savior for his people. He was a messianic figure for his people. And yet, all the uplifting that he did for his own people, not everybody was for him. He had a lot of enemies. And he even had those in his own circle that were snakes. Matthew chapter 26, verse 21 through 25. And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Adonai, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said. Same chapter, verses 47 through 50. And while yet he spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, the same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Yashua and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Yashua said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Yashua and took him. This is something that has happened a lot with black people here in America. Anytime there's a black leader trying to uplift the people, they always find that one person that they can use to plot against that leader and bring them to their demise. And this same tactic goes back to Yashua and Judas. It's the same tactic that they're using on us still today. They always find somebody within a leader's circle that they can use. They always find a weakling, somebody who's down on their luck and need some money or something. They always know how to spot out the weakest person in the group that would do their bidding and sell out their leader and effectively sell out their own people. Here in America, this was called COINTELPRO. Now, the FBI director actually came out and said that the U.S. government, they have to prevent the rise of a black messiah. Ask yourself, why would they label it as such? I don't have to reach and jump conclusions or none of that. It came out of their own mouths that they want to prevent the rise of a black messiah. And it just so happens that it's the same exact tactics that they used on Jesus, Yashua, and Judas. There's always a reward that comes along with betraying your own brother. And like Michael Jackson said, people will do anything for money. So in America, we have a lot of Judas-type betrayals that I'm going to show you. And the U.S. government and the FBI, COINTELPRO, they were behind these. And essentially, their success in doing so harmed black people. It set us back, and it still continues to set us back today. So let's get into the examples. First one is Fred Hampton and William O'Neill. In 1969, Fred Hampton was chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party in Chicago. He was infiltrated by a black man known as William O'Neill. William O'Neill was a car thief. He was arrested by the FBI and offered immunity in exchange for infiltrating the Black Panthers. O'Neill became the head of security for the party and provided the FBI with highly detailed intelligence, including a floor plan of Hampton's apartment. The outcome: armed with O'Neill's layout, Chicago police and the FBI conducted a pre-dawn raid on December 4th, 1969, fatally shooting Hampton in his bed. The devastating story was later dramatized in the critically acclaimed film Judas and the Black Messiah. Next up, you have Malcolm X and Gene Roberts in 1965. Malcolm X was a prominent human rights activist and founder of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. He was betrayed by Gene Roberts, a black man who worked undercover as a police officer and informant for the NYPD and the FBI. He successfully infiltrated Malcolm X's security team. The outcome was Roberts was standing just feet away when Malcolm X was assassinated at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem on February 21st, 1965. Roberts was instrumental in securing the crime scene and identifying the shooters, but his role highlighted how easily the state could plant operatives within the highest levels of black leadership. In 2024, the Malcolm X family filed a federal lawsuit against the FBI, CIA, and the NYPD for having an active role in the assassination of Malcolm X. But once again, it was Gene Roberts, the Judas in this story, who allowed the FBI and NYPD to orchestrate the death of Malcolm X. Another example of them preventing the rise of a black messiah, you have Marcus Garvey and James W.H. Eason in 1923. Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican-born founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which advocated for black nationalism and the Back to Africa movement, he was betrayed by James Eason, who was a high-ranking Garveyite and a prominent UNIA official in the United States. Following a fierce power struggle and ideological fallout within the UNIA, Eason turned against Garvey and became a crucial government witness in Garvey's highly publicized 1923 federal mail fraud trial. Eason's testimony was key to Garvey's eventual conviction and imprisonment. Eason himself was later assassinated in New Orleans shortly after testifying. So notably, this was in 1923, so this was long before COINTELPRO. That just lets you know that they've been doing this for a long time, sending one of our own to go against us. And you have the Martin Luther King assassination in 1968. Martin Luther King, the leader of the civil rights movement, was extensively targeted by J. Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO. They attempted to neutralize him using various internal and external operatives. While the direct assassin was an external white supremacist, the FBI utilized a network of informants within the Nation of Islam and other rival factions to track Dr. King's movement and internal disputes, ensuring maximum surveillance and political destabilization in the lead up to his 1968 assassination in Memphis.
You insult my intelligence when not only they insult me, period, if they think I would tell them anything.
But it would be good, and I think in many ways it might be of some benefit to your organization. You know, if in fact we can eliminate people.
There's no government agency that can ever expect any information out of me that's in any way detrimental to any religious group or black group for that matter in this country. No government agency.
That's fine.
Because they should use that same energy to go and find who bombed that church down there in Alabama.
Also recently, they released the MLK assassination files, showing how much the FBI was into targeting him. It said that they had blackmail evidence of him cheating on his wife, Coretta Scott King. So as much as they like to brag about MLK today, giving him a holiday and acknowledging his I Have a Dream speech, they did not like the man. The FBI, the government of this country, was targeting him. In every aspect, COINTELPRO was identical to what Yashua the Messiah had to go through. The government and ruling powers tried to target him all throughout his lifetime. He had to worry about Rome, the Herodians through King Herod, And even his own people wanted to kill him, and they plotted to do so. And in doing so, who was benefiting from that? Also the Romans and the Herodians. They benefited from the death of the Messiah. Not in the long run, of course, but during that time period, they wanted him gone. He was a threat to their power. So they all plotted against him. Matthew chapter 26, verse 3 through 5. Then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Yashua by subtlety and kill him. But they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. So they was going to plot to take him out before he was even crucified. But being afraid that the people might go against that, they had to plot in secret. And that's how they got Judas, who was in the immediate circle of Yashua, and used him as an informant to throw these false charges on him. This happens all throughout the black community. Al Sharpton was an FBI informant. P. Diddy was an FBI informant. That's why he got away with all the crimes that he committed. And even in the case of the death of Michael Jackson, his doctor was likely an informant who they used to kill him because he was outspoken in the last years of his life. He was against wars. He was against the crimes against humanity that nations like Israel are still committing today. And there's probably so many more other examples of Judas type figures within the black community. And ultimately, these covert type operations that uses bribery and intimidation tactics, they ultimately lead to the demise of the Messianic figure, the Messianic type figure. And that was the case in Yeshua's time. He was the Messianic figure that they targeted and wanted to bring to his demise. Matthew chapter 26, verse 59 through 60. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Yeshua to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses. So that's what they also do. They bring these false witnesses to accuse you of doing something that you did not do. How many black men have been imprisoned and killed over a crime that they did not commit? So we'll pick up from here in the next video as we get to the finality of the death of Yeshua the Messiah and ultimately his triumph in the resurrection.